Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Will you please call the roll, Sue?
McCaig,
Here.
Wertz,
Here.
Johnson, Rust,
Here.
Trent, Griffin,
Here.
Ware, Campbell.
Here. Please do the pledge of allegiance. Now is the time for public comment. Do you have any wish to address the board? The format of the board is everybody's given 3 minutes to address. Anybody would like to talk? No comments? We'll move on.
Can we get an enrollment update from Dr. Jackson?
Yes, I think Amir is there today to provide the update. So Amir, thanks.
Good evening. I'm just going to give you a couple of quick updates today. The first one is the new students for the spring 2024. So far, we have received, as of today, 909 inquiries, meaning 909 people inquire to come to college here at LCC. And compared to 713 last year, which is 27% increase so far. And we had admitted so far to 369. There are 369 students sitting on the admit status compared to 288, which is also 28% increase. And we have enrolled so far 155 today, as of today, compared to 107, which is 45% increase compared to last year. And now the combination of new and the current students. As of today, we have registered for spring 2024, 1,937 students. Compared to last year, we had the same time 1,757 students, which is also 10% increase. So that's a combination of new students and the current students. Enrolled credits is 21,761 compared to 19,427, which is also 12% increase so far. Nelson campus, we have 175 students so far compared to last year, 136, which is also 29% increase. Nelson enrolled credits is 1,305 compared to last year, 1,009, which is also 29% increase so far. Full-time enrolled students count is 1,053 compared to last year, 905, which is also 16% increase so far. Full-time enrolled credit is 15,473 compared to 13,453, which is also 15% increase. Part-time students count is 884 compared to 852, which is also 3.8% increase. And the part-time enrolled credits, it's 6,288 compared to 5,974, which is also 5.3% increase. So as we going for the winter break, I think a lot of students going to rush for the last minute, which is January first 2 weeks are crucial. And we are positive that we're going to make a very good impact for this spring semester. And the numbers are really looks encouraging. And we're going to continue to focus on communicating with the potential students who are still sitting on the admit status, take them to the next level, which is enrolled. And also students inquiring every single day. We are communicating via phone, emails, and take them to the next level, which is admit and enrolled. So looks like we're gonna have a good spring semester. Any questions?
Thank you, Amir.
Thanks for the good news.
A budget health update. Is that you,
Sure.
Dr. Trask?
Yeah, that's me. So I think a little bit more good news where things are looking very encouraging on the financial side. So based on a comparison of actual tuition and fees at the end of October of last year, 22, and the end of this year, October, we are projecting around a 70% increase in tuition and fees for this fiscal year, 24. So really positive news on that regard. And that kind of correlates to the messaging that we're continuing to hear from Amir. While our tuition and fee revenues are also increasing to that regard, so are our expenses in the instruction area, the academic support and student services area. We are projecting a 6% increase in these areas compared to last year. So a little bit more spending on those areas compared to last year, but still up in our revenue over expenditures. And then although we certainly have increased expenses over this last year, we are 100% on track for our operating expenses to be well within our budget that the board approved last year. So good news all around as well. And just again, want to extend a thank you to our team, because our team, our leadership really manages and facilitates the budget, and we're doing things in a way that allow us to continue to give back more to this student experience. So thank you. And that concludes my budget update for this month.
The omnibus agenda.
The omnibus agenda is presented for vote. Is there any item the board would like to be held out and voted separately? If not, we'll take a motion to approve the omnibus agenda. Does anybody wants to hold one out separately? I'll take a motion to approve the omnibus agenda.
Motion.
Have a second? Second? Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
McCaig,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wertz.
Yes.
Resolution 24-2, the tax levy.
Do I have a motion to approve? Second?
Second,
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Resolution 24-3, review of closed session audio.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Do I have a discussion? Please call the roll.
McCaig,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes. Resolution 24-4, approval and need to keep confidential closed session minutes.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
McCaig,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes. Motion approved.
2024-25 Career and Technical Education Programs Advisory Committee Handbook.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
McCaig,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust.
Yes. Motion approved.
Lewis and Clark Office License Agreement with AAIC Inc. at the NO Nelson campus for 2 offices.
Do I have a motion to approve? Second? Second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
McCaig, Yes. Trent.
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson. Yes.
Motion approved.
Comprehensive written report on the college athletic program.
Do you have a motion?
So move.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Was
I-
this yours, Kevin?
I'm muted, sorry.
I'm sorry, what?
Was this yours,
Yeah,
resolution?
yeah, it's actually, well, it's really Dr. Traska's and mine both.
Okay,
He's been wanting to do this report for a while. And we've kind of held off until Cody, our new AD, got on board and got his feet wet in that. And now I think we did this, Dr. Hill, Sean Hill did something similar about 4 years ago in 2019. And with some things that we think are coming up over the horizon, be a good time, and we have new board members, good time to get everybody on the same page and understanding the athletic programs. And
okay.
So-
I just wasn't clear who was going to do all this.
well, I think probably it's going to fall mostly on Cody and Mary, I would say, Mary Schulte.
Is it?
I can
This
I
time.
can chime in when I have a
Go
second.
ahead.
Sean?
Yeah, so this is so essentially, yeah, there was a report that was provided actually probably before I arrived, and then we started to really talk about the dashboard concept, and we put together some additional reports around athletics. That was previous to moving toward a full-time athletic director, which ultimately the board approved. So all of these data points, at least most of them, I think are okay. I mean, we obviously have data points around student enrollment in athletics. So we're going to be able to show where we were last year, where we are this year, where we project to be next year. When it comes to the scholarships, so we have some data which we track around student scholarships as well as self-pay. And of course, salaries on the coaching side and other important metrics that we're looking at in the athletic sort of realm, as well as throughout the executive team. So, I mean, these data points for the most part are what we're already doing. And I think as we move to bringing additional perhaps proposals to the board over time with athletics, I would just reinforce that from an administrative perspective and a transparency perspective, we are confident that we have all of these data already in place. So, I mean, however it looks in a report is one thing. I would say some of the points on this item, I mean, what we're spending on practices, et cetera, I would need a little bit more definition around some of those points. I mean, the college has invested in athletics as an opportunity for us to increase enrollment, continue to build that sort of student life culture on our campus, be able to connect with our community. Each of our coaches, our athletic director, have a budget. And as I said in my report on the budget, that we're not only painting within those lines, we're doing a highly responsible job of making sure our budget is used to impact the college in the most positive and most constructive ways, particularly toward our students. So while I'm never going to be against a report because I think they're important, but we're doing sort of our report on our side. And I think most of what Trustee Rust is seeking here are data points that we are already having. I think it's putting it all in one package, presenting that to the board, which I have no issue doing. I don't know necessarily if it needs to be in any specific way, but looking at revenue year over year, looking at enrollments, looking at operational costs, looking at scholarships, et cetera. I mean, the bottom line is those are things that are going to come anyway. I don't plan ever to bring a proposal to the board without you having the information you need to make an informed decision. So I would just say that some of those items on there are probably digging a little bit too much in. I think that the high level saying, here's the budget for athletics, here's, I mean, some of the top things are the salaries, the scholarships, and some other operational costs. And then I leave it up to the team to really manage those budgets appropriately. And I know Cody really wanted to be here, but he's out doing some fundraising this evening with the players. You know, and I know he had a couple of things that he probably would have wanted to add as well. So those are just my thoughts. But you know, I'll do whatever the board wishes. Thank you.
I'm not opposed to it. I just looked at it, it looked like a lot of work and I didn't know who was going to do it. That was my concern. So call for the vote.
I think this is drilling down to way too much. I think it's really getting to be, I mean, the only thing we don't have is how many candy bars are sold. I don't really think we really need this report. I think we can get this information from Dr. Trask when we need it, but I don't think we should ask for this detail of a report. That's my opinion.
Well, I think Dr. Trask just said that it should be pretty readily available. I'd say about 70, maybe 80% of it was information that Sean Hill pulled together back in 2019. What would you like to see deleted from that information?
I just think we should get a report from Dr. Traska that's, like he says, we don't need to get down to every expenses. All these expenses here are just a little over the top. Dr. Hill, you got?
I just wanted to add, that, thank you. Yeah, it is a little bit tedious to get some of these numbers in detail. And even when I presented the numbers before, I did acknowledge that some of them were projections based on like percentages of expenses based on teams. It is somewhat easy for us to get aggregate information for this. What gets a little tricky is like, you know, they're going to be shared travel expenses. Practice expenses is kind of a tricky number to do because, you know, really the same equipment that's used for games is often used for practices. But, you know, certainly we could talk about salaries, coaches' stipends. We know exactly how much we spend on equipment and uniforms. Travel expenses can be broken down based on buses, vans, the amount of money that coaches are given for recruiting trips. We know how much we spend on tuition and fee scholarships pretty readily. Meal stipends is pretty straightforward based on request. Housing scholarships is typically a somewhat fixed number. And then we also know what we spend on fields, equipment. And then what gets a little fuzzy are things like that are hard to really quantify. You know, cleaning the gym floor. But yes, we can try to break the numbers down, but I will acknowledge that there are estimates when you start getting down to the granular level, which is what I acknowledged before.
Sean, are you talking about breaking it down by sport?
By sport, because
Yeah.
even when I did it before, like I had a note in the that was saying that, you know, I know exactly how much we spent on scholarships, and basically I was doing proportions of scholarships per team based on the number of scholarships that each team had. Like it was those kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I knew there was going to be, you know, things like that. And that's why I put in the motion that expenses and overhead costs that are difficult to assign, in other words, difficult to assign to a sport, should be shown just in a separate column and reported separately.
Okay.
Because like you say, you know, there are certain things that overhead things and cleaning the gym floor and that, you can't assign that to a specific sport, but just so we know what those are.
Sure. And then, I mean, and the other things that we know coming up, you know, like, you know, things gonna have to be resurfaced and those kinds of things. We could also talk about projected numbers if you want to see some of those. Like we're gonna have to put a new coat of sealant on the gym floor, those kinds of things. And
Oh, well, I said all amounts should pertain to the 12 months of fiscal year 22-23. So
right, but at the bottom it also says 5 years. Okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was
but-
thinking you were projecting. Yes.
I guess I would ask, is this a great use of taxpayer dollars? I mean, we're spending the resources of our people, their time and what we pay them to drill down on all of these specific things because I guess I don't understand why you want to know all of this information about athletics specifically. Like, why do we need to know how much they're spending on practicing? I mean, I guess I don't understand the why behind it. Maybe I don't I missed that maybe. Like, why do we need to know all this?
Well, we're spending a lot of money on athletics,
Mhm.
and I think it's important to know how it's being spent, especially since we're taking dollars away from the students and allocating it towards athletics. Now, not to say that athletics doesn't benefit the students, but not like it does when it's kept in the education fund and used specifically for our education.
So there's
So the-
question about how,
Yeah.
how we're spending athletic dollars, and you think that
Right.
this is gonna help us figure out
Well, I
if like dollars are
yeah.
being wasted or monies aren't being spent a specific way or the way that you think they should be. I guess
Well, it's
I've
got-
never seen anything like this.
The question you're asking would be similar to asking, why do we get any financial reports?
No, I think this is
This-
quite different. This is weeds. This is getting into the weeds. And I don't feel like this is my role as a board member to get into the weeds like this. And again, I think you have to take into account the amount of time, which is what Larry pointed out at the very beginning,
Mhm.
that people are going to be spending digging up this information.
Most of this information, maybe not all of it, but most of the information is information that Cody should have at his fingertips if he's going to properly manage the athletic department.
I think if it's something that's readily available, it's one thing. I think to ask people, I mean, he just said, so when they wax the floors, we're gonna assign that to, I don't know. I just think this is a lot to ask of people. And I think,
Yeah, you keep saying
if
that.
we ask them what they have readily available, what data they have readily available, and they provide that to us, that should be ample. I mean, I just went to the session in Schaumburg, Kevin, last month, and they talked specifically about board members staying in our lane and working on governance, and we hire and fire presidents. And I just feel like this is a prime example of us overexerting ourselves into the day-to-day operations of this place. And I think this is a waste of taxpayer dollars because it's our people who are, I mean, Cody's being paid with taxpayer dollars. These people, Mary's being paid with taxpayer dollars. And we're just gonna have them go research all of this information because one of our board members, or maybe more, there could be more, we can vote on it, want to know meal
So-
stipends. I mean, I'm not interested in meal stipends. Do you think there's something going on that's not legitimate?
I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
think,
don't know if they're it's not meal stipends. I don't know where you got meal stipends.
Right
but
here
anyway,
on the
yeah.
report, it says meal stipends.
yeah, I
don't know
think,
if it-
Could,
yeah,
maybe that's- there is some
the high-
stipends there. But anyway, I mean,
Yeah.
if it's difficult to obtain or certainly if it's difficult to assign to a sport, it can be just lumped in a category to say, other unallocable expenses.
I guess I'm
But-
trying to understand to what end as well, because is it really a question about how the dollars are being spent, or have we seen benefit from these dollars being spent, right? We're making an investment in sports in order to drive up enrollment. And so if we can demonstrate that correlation, I don't understand how this level of detail
Mhm.
and understanding it is going to answer that question.
Well, how about if we just say that these are suggested levels of detail, and we just leave it up to Cody and Dr. Traska to decide what level of detail that we need. But I do think that we need a report because we're projected to spend, subsidize the athletic efforts by almost $1 million this year. And I think it's irresponsible for us not to have a pretty good handle on how that money is being spent.
I'm fine if it's information that's readily available and they provide a report with data that Traska and Cody agree to. I just don't think I need to know about meal stipends and waxing a floor for practice and how much the wax costs. But I'm fine if Traska and Cody agree to something, data that's readily available, I'll vote for that, but I'm not going to vote for this. I'm not in support of this level of detail.
I think we could leave it up to Dr. Traska to
Yeah.
decide what's reasonable because, looking at these categories, a lot of them are in Mary's report already because we have such a good accounting system that anything that's purchased, there's a very specific reason. And I've seen all of these in the accounting reports, the refs,
Yes.
all of that. So I think this is probably not a big deal to do this. And if something is a big deal, just Dr. Traska just make the decision. It wasn't worth figuring out. I mean, we can be reasonable on this, but I do think it's important to know, because we're trying to decide the direction of the college in the athletics field. So, what do we want to do? We want to keep spending, the money we are, or, to me, it's a direction issue for the college, not just where these dollars are going. I guess, it's an accountant's reaction to first, when you're trying to make a decision, first you find out where the money's being spent and then you go from there. So I don't see any harm and I don't think it's going to take that long to do this. And if something requires a big amount of a judgment, then you don't put it in there. You say, we didn't put that in there because we don't know, So we can all be reasonable here, can't we? And Dr. Trask is willing to do it, so.
Yeah, I mean, there are things like, I can tell you the revenue from student athletic fee is, we have that readily available. I mean, salary stipend, same thing. I mean, we know what we're paying everybody. Housing scholarships are straightforward. Number of players in each sport, we track that. I mean, I think I heard somebody allude to, return on investment. We've increased our student athletes this year. We've done that year over year, 2 years in a row now. So, we have aspirations of continuing to build these rosters. That's been set as a standard. But I think there's a handful of items here that are readily available that we have in front of us at all times. I won't include things like meal stipends and equipment and uniforms. I mean, the coaches get a $6,000 budget for each sport, and they use those dollars appropriately. And so they might put that toward uniforms. If they have a little bit less that they need for uniforms, they might shift that over to recruiting, and we allow that agility in the budget as long as they stay within the lines of what the budget was. And I think at the end of year, when we reconcile our budget and we look at revenues over expenses, I mean, our responsibility as administration is, bottom line, no matter what, is that we come to the board at the end of each year saying that we are, hopefully, we end up even, which we have, or we're revenue over expenses. And for several years, we've been able to do that, which is why we've been able to increase some of our fund balances. And that allows us to make additional investment into those areas where there is opportunity for growth and there is opportunity to build the campus, in a positive way. And one of those areas is athletics. And yes, there is an evolving vision with athletics, and I think the investment in it is important and imperative to our institution. So, I mean, I'll work with the team, and we have a lot of this already because it's informing our thinking as we speak. And I mean, as I always will be, if there's a particular question from a board member to want to know something specific, I'm happy to consider that request and do what we need to do to make sure you're satisfied with the data and that it helps inform your decision. So, but yeah, I think I'm counting 4 to 5, maybe 6 things on here are pretty straightforward. Yeah. And yeah, so I think, that's not a problem. And that's stuff that the
Mr.
board should
Chairman,
see. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, based on what Dr. Trask has said and what Julie has also echoed, I'd like to make a motion to table this resolution.
I'll second the motion to table it. Ask for further discussion from the administration.
Any discussion? Call for a vote, Matt. Call for a vote, please.
Trent,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
McCaig,
Yes.
Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
Rust,
No.
Ware,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes. Motion passes. Dr. Trask, is there anything you'd like to highlight in the information items?
Yeah, I think Dr. Artis would typically provide a little bit of an update on the recognition report. Otherwise, if there's any other questions on those other items, please let us know. But Dr. Artis, if you want to take that one, it would be great.
Yes, thank you as always for giving us an opportunity to spotlight some of our outstanding team members. Just a few to mention this month, Melissa Mullen, who's our office assistant at the N.O. Nelson campus in Edwardsville. I should also mention, I learned today it's her birthday, so perfect timing. Just for going above and beyond and being a real resource for the students and staff and faculty over there at the N.O. Nelson campus. Amy Monroe, who's been mentioned before, she's the coordinator of our internships and special projects at NGREC, being recognized by her colleagues for her institutional knowledge and going above and beyond to do some extra work and help them with their planning and in a recent photo contest. And then my favorite entry is Jeff Alsman, Jeff the Ref. If you have an opportunity, you come out to any of our key direction competitions, they can get a little fierce. Jeff is our campus events coordinator, but he serves as our referee for things like kickball and volleyball. And, you know, it's not a fun job being a referee these days, but this individual wanted to recognize Jeff for just being lighthearted and having a lot of fun with it. So that is it. Thank you.
Can I tag on to the recognition report? I just wanted to congratulate the team on hiking through the holidays. I was able to attend this weekend. It was a fantastic event. You guys have done a great job with it, and clearly very popular event this year. So you've really grown it since last year. So it was very exciting to see. So thank you to the team for that.
Yes.
Leadership team reports, anything further, Dr. Traska?
Yeah, just a couple of things really quick, high level. Just want to thank Larry and Donna both for attending the Governance Leadership Institute with me a couple weeks ago now. We served on a panel where we got to share a little bit of our own wisdom and perspective and kind of be asked some questions. And it was really positive. You know, we all sort of had an opportunity to get to know each other a little bit more and get to meet other trustees in the state and really help sort of the comprehensive development of this work as leaders. So thank you both. And for the opportunity as well to the rest of the board for being able to attend that program. I'm not in town today. I'm in Wichita with a pretty large delegation from our area, which includes a couple of our legislators, school superintendent, regional superintendent, some other city leaders. And we're really looking at a career and technical education workforce pathway model that we can work with District 7 as well as other school districts to really create more focused pathways that allow high school students to work through a college curriculum to move into a job. And so we are looking at aviation, we're looking at some other programs. So this is really kind of a research and development sort of phase. Probably be sending Dr. Sue and a number of other folks as well from the community will be going back, and we're going to take an even harder look at their aviation program, which is just unbelievably remarkable. And just the demand in that industry continues to show signals that we have a great opportunity here as an institution. Programs like composite, and there's some other programs related to automotive and architecture and some other pathways in electrical systems. And and the interesting thing that we're learning, which we know, but it's great to see this in a model, is where all these industries sort of intersect. And so there's some really neat opportunities, I think, for us. So appreciate the opportunity to be here with this team exploring really this next level work that we're trying to do. And the great news too on this is most of this is competency-based education driven. So we've been able to learn a little bit more from Wichita State University's model as well, which has kind of given me some additional thoughts and perspective as well. A couple of other things, just, absolutely want to thank, our foundation team, and so many other folks on campus who've really helped with kind of the evolution of this alumni engagement work. I think you all saw it in the report I sent. But I think we're a little over $400,000 this semester that have come in from new donations, new endowments. And I know I've been on the road a lot cultivating those relationships, but it takes a really strong team around myself and around those others that are around me to make this work. So just want to thank everybody for working hard on that. Just a couple final things. We hope in early spring to be able to have a better update for you around the main complex. That's moving, but in a glacial way. But we're encouraged by, hopefully January, February, March. March will be pushing it for me. Hopefully by February board meeting, we'll have an update from our architects and a signal from Capital Development Board on moving toward this next phase. And we'll be jumping pretty hard into our budget planning process. In January, we've already started dabbling, looking at priorities as a leadership group, but the executive team in particular is going to start looking at where we really need to prioritize for this next fiscal year. And we'll be bringing sort of highlights of that to the board so that when we finally come up with our priorities, you've been aware of kind of our thinking and our perspective and why we feel certain things are really important for us to invest in going forward. And again, just thank the team for a great year. We end on Friday with our final Christmas party. And it's just a culmination of the great work, effort, commitment, passion that everyone puts in every day at Lewis and Clark. So thank you all again as a board for your continued support, and just want to extend another thank you to the full LC team and family for just an amazing semester. Get a great rest over the holiday and look forward to seeing everyone in the new year. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Adjourn to closed session.
Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
McCaig,
Yes.
Trent. Yes. Ware,
Yes.
Campbell. Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Motion approved. We'll move to closed session.